This is Stephen Boyle. I'm with DCATS, Detroit Coalition Against Tar Sands, and I'm speaking here with Sherry Griswold. Hi,
How are
Sherry.
you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So today we went to the Detroit Public Health and Safety Committee meeting,
Yes.
and we spoke with the representatives that were there. How did you feel the discussion went?
I think it went good, but it could have been a little more brought out so they would see the broad section of everything we're dealing with. Because in that short of time, you don't have a lot of time to tell them.
So we didn't really go to the table. All we got was like a 2-minute
Exactly.
comment period.
Exactly.
Okay. And speaking with council afterwards, we were talking about how contracts are usually what brings people to the table, so it needs to become a line item when we go up there. So tell me a little bit about your story as to who is Sherry Griswold and why should our viewers be interested in what's going on in your life?
I've been a Detroiter for many years, and I loved a lot of the people that live there. And when the marathon kind of moved into the backyard, I thought, okay, more jobs for the people in Detroit, but I didn't see that.
So when did you move into the house?
2001?
2001? Okay. And then, but Marathon wasn't like right there. I mean,
No.
this expansion that Marathon's done started up, when was it? 2005, 7, 8? What was that? I think it was 2008 is when they started their
Yes.
construction.
Yes.
What they call their Detroit Heavy Oil Upgrade Project.
Right.
The DHOOP, we were going to call it something. So this delay, what it consists of is a delayed coker that takes the heavy crude oil from the pipelines that are coming in through Enbridge, basically, is the people that are delivering the crude into the system. And that pipeline's coming across the state of Michigan right now, and delivering some of that into Marathon's refinery. And I've seen a recent paper say that it was 112,000 barrels per day that they were processing at present. It's debatable how much, you read different sources, you get different information. That happened to be out of Bloomberg. And they have reporters coming from other sources that are reporting into Bloomberg too. So what happened in 2008 was they started construction.
Right.
And you didn't choose to move next to it. It chose to move next to you.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear that there was going to be
I
construction?
heard that they were going to add on to the refinery, but they never said where. And until I started hearing the big steel pillars being driven into the ground. And it was to the point where when you were in your house, your head just kind of, every time it hit, and when I would ask what that was, they would never tell me. They said all it was is something to make more money for the Detroiters. That's not true.
Okay.
The only one that got jobs were the security guards from Detroit, as far as I can see.
Well, so from 2008 to 2012, they built it, and according to the documents I've been looking at with DCATS, we've got a petition that was sent to the state of Michigan to start up operations. This petition was from January, saying that they were going to start in the fourth quarter of 2012. So that petition was based on some theoretical numbers as to what their emissions would be and what their processes would be, because they didn't have practical experience with what they were building.
Oh, definitely not.
So now, the 2012 November, they started things up, and when they started things up, can can you remember back like a year and a half ago?
Oh, definitely.
Only a year and a half ago.
I'm the one that spent the most time in the backyard because that was me and my dog's time. And when he was prowling around, chasing my groundhogs and my rabbits, I'd let him play and I would do all the weeding. And it just got to the point where it changed and I started, when they finally started it up, it was like started up at a slow pace. But for some reason, I don't know if it's because I have a low immune system, it attacked me. And nobody at first would believe me. You know, I kept saying, I have to wash my face 4 times a day. What is this stuff? And they're like, oh, it's probably salt. I said, no, this burns me. This is hurting me.
So there's salt, you're saying there's a salt mine next to the home too.
Definitely.
And
would blow all over. I mean, every one of our doors to our garages, everything is actually rusted out.
okay, so the salt is created the atmosphere. You wind up having to drink a lot of water or get dehydrated all the time.
The whole block does. That was one thing that we all came together and everyone asked the other person, does it affect your drinking fluids? I'm like, 2 to 3.
That's just the salt mine, right?
Yeah, that's just a salt mine. But
That was there back in 2001.
well, it got worse when they started up with Marathon and they released some benzene, which draws all of the water out of the area. Then everybody had the same thing I had. You had bottles of water that you had to slug down. I mean, it's not like a small drink. You have I could go through 2 liters of Diet Coke a day.
Okay.
Because I just couldn't handle it.
You're parched.
Yeah, and I'm not the only one. Every neighbor said the same thing.
Okay. So you're dealing with a respiratory problem because of the salt. One is drying out your respiratory system, but then you're adding in the chemicals that are coming out of the coking process. It's just a whole refining process.
Right, and the benzene sucks all the air out of the trees, the grass, anything around it. Anything.
So 2012 started up. They started up the delay coker, and as things started up, did you hear anything about petroleum coke on the Detroit River, like in the beginning of 2013 or anything like that?
No, none at all. I mean, I thought it was a slide. Me and Crystal wanted to go down the slide, you know. We thought, wow, what is
They
this?
were doing something down in Detroit and it looked like maybe they were making
we
a
could
slide
have fun
up or
on
something
that,
like
you know, and we made jokes about it.
Okay.
But the one thing that I noticed when they started up in the summertime even, the dog, he was like, he had a little bit of lab in him, but the Dalmatian, he had more of that.
Okay.
He would lose so much hair in one day.
So he'd be shedding.
Oh my God, horrifying. I have not even been able to empty my vacuum because it reminds me of him. The vacuum is completely filled one time, and that was just downstairs.
Were you finding a lot of, when the hair would come out, was it just the follicle or was it like even more?
If you touched it, it would come out in clumps. And I'm like, you got bare butt fur on you, what is that?
Okay.
You know, and I'd make fun of him, and then I started losing mine. And I have a whole baggie completely filled with all the hair that I've
you've
lost.
been losing. Okay.
Yeah.
And this all really happened in 2013 after the delay coker, which moved in next to you, started up. Okay. There's some incidents that Marathon's reported in April and May of 2013 that actually the Attorney General has got a consent order saying that they have to pay for these erroneous activities that they do. Okay.
Yep.
So what do you remember what happened in April and May?
April 27th, they had some, I don't know if it was a hydrogen explosion or nitro. And that's when they evacuated everybody.
It was a tank?
Or no, the tank
it was a
actually,
tank.
and they say something in the tank just blew. Well, what makes you say the other ones aren't going to do that too? You know, and then I think the worst that hurt me the most is to actually evacuate everybody around us, even across Oakwood.
This was in April when this happened.
Oh yeah, April 27th.
They evacuated all kinds of people. Melvindale, the whole city of Melvindale was told.
I stood in the street watching them run around in hazmat suits, and one of my neighbors kissed me on the cheek and said, "I hope this isn't goodbye."
And if I remember really, the city council session today, this topic of the evacuation plan for the city of Detroit came up, and the previous fire chief was wanting to address it. However, I remember actually being at the city council session last year where he said that it was difficult to create an evacuation plan when you don't know where it's coming from. Because the wind moves around.
Oh yeah. We can
So
tell
you
when
never
it's
know.
hitting us. We can tell when it's going into Lincoln Park.
Right.
We can tell when it goes to Melvindale.
Okay.
You know, like last night, it went to Melvindale. So we actually didn't feel the burning so bad on the face and stuff like that. But we can just look at it and tell. But they're starting it up too high. They need to slow it back down. Something bad's going to happen if they don't.
Okay.
I already know that.
Well, we know. We're hearing a little bit about that.
Well, they don't want to tell you that they're the same ones that keep leaking.
Right. So we have, the pipeline's expanding, so therefore the refinery wants to expand. And I've even heard some rumor, and I've got to confirm this still, about possibly another delayed coker right here in Detroit, not just the one, that they want to start up.
They're building it
Another
right now.
one.
Yeah, they're building it right now.
They have the land, and they're breaking ground, and we didn't even get a notice about what's going on in the neighborhood, right?
No.
So we have to do a little more investigating. And so the April incident we talked about, tell me about, you and I spoke a little bit before about your dog.
Yes.
You said, when this thing started losing its hair.
That was in October.
So October
but
something
before
happened.
October is when I couldn't understand, because it was summertime. Dogs don't shed. He had a short hair. He a Dalmatian, and he had bald spots all over him. And I used to actually say, I don't know who's losing their hair more, me or you, making a joke out of it.
Yeah.
It ain't no joke no more. I've lost half of my hair.
So, your dog, you were talking about October. You had something happen in the back. You had the dog in the backyard from what you were telling me before.
Jeff next door, the neighbor,
Yeah.
apparently had heard this wailing sound. He took a recorder out, was standing there, and he was recording it. Well, I didn't hear the wailing sound, because when Bud wants to go outside, he's barking, he's jumping around, let's go, let's get out there, I want the groundhog, I want the rabbits, and I got him out there. The minute I shut the door, when I turned facing this way, so that's where the explosion was. The next thing I know, I was on the cement, and I was looking up, and it looked like a mushroom cloud when they do, the nuclear mushroom cloud.
Yeah, the explosion.
Exactly, and I'm laying there. I could not move. I landed on the elbow and the knee.
Yeah.
Just laid there. And I looked at the dog, and he's in the corner of the yard. He just kept shaking his head. He would not come over to me, though. Usually he never leaves my side. And that's when Tom heard the explosion, because it rocked 4 to 5 blocks down. They thought their windows were going to burst out. And they all came running down. And Mikey knows Bud. And I said, Mikey, Tom's got me get Bud. If you don't know what's going on,
He's still in his house?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was outside in the corner of the yard.
Okay.
He got it worse than I did. Well, I got it because of the percussion, they said, where I had the garage, the house, and the fence.
Oh, you hit surfaces that echoed the
Exactly.
sound back at you?
Nailed back at me. And him, he was at the very end of the yard, close to them, but couldn't figure out what it was. He just kept shaking his head. And I said, bring him to me. You're the only one that can bring him to me besides Tom, and Tom's got me. So Tom brought me into the house, laid me down. They went and got Buddy into the house. And when Tom come in, he could see blood just coming out the left ear.
Of your ear?
Of my left ear. And I still could not, when they talked to me, I had to read their lips. It was like somebody talking through a shell when you're listening to a shell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Well, 2 days later, I had an appointment with my pain doctor, and he's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you reading my lips? I mean, he actually caught it, because he lost his hearing in one ear.
Right.
And I explained what happened. He sent me 2 days later to have a test done. And right before the test was done, after the test was done, I called in a friend of ours that he does hearing aids and stuff like that. Because I wanted a hearing aid. I want to be able to hear out of the ear again. And he said, that class that you took, he said, you being in that enclosed area, he said the percussion is what got you. It would be like you standing next to a 747, right next to the engine, and have him crank it on. He said, that's what got you. He said, all the X's and O's, he said, no. And so then I asked my doctor, when he got the results from the hearing test, fix it. I got an earache. Fix it. I can't hear.
Right.
And he definitely told me, he said, I can't fix it.
Not curable.
He said, if we do, you will have a tube inserted in your stomach. You will never swallow again. And I said, that's why I'm having problems swallowing. If I take any of my medication, I have a hole in my throat, and it gets stuck. And he said, that's why.
And so we were talking about the explosion that happened in October.
Right.
There was a dog in the backyard, and you were brought into the house, your ear was bleeding.
Yes.
Lost hearing in your ear. And I asked you whether there was any legal action. And you realized that something was wrong. What happened? What did you do in response to it?
I called a few places for lawyers, and somebody told me I needed to get a lawyer that was an environmental lawyer.
Okay.
But what happened is when this came down with the MRI and everything, they sent me to this woman that didn't even know me, and it was to actually take the nerve that they damaged.
X-ray or something
Oh
and
no,
notice something
she sent
different?
me to another doctor.
Okay.
So I thought maybe he would go ahead with the test, the X-rays, whatever, and he'd get a attorney. And twice I was there, and he wouldn't do nothing. You know, I couldn't understand that because they don't understand about these chemical burns and what they can do to you and how many there are.
Okay. So you're still looking a little bit around it as far as that goes. And when it comes to the city, did you go to any city meetings regarding the situation back in October?
None at all. I mean, the one meeting I went to was supposed to be for residents. Turned out that it was what is it?
Paul Max?
The one that's in there right now. Gotta come and see him. Hey, what was the name that we met James at? Peters.
Oh, Gary Peters
Right.
is who you're talking about. Okay.
He was there.
So Gary Peters, who
Yes,
you're talking about.
and he had told me, you know, he read everything. This is even before the burns were really bad. And he gave his assistant my number. They both gave me cards. I have both of their cards. And he said, we will take care of this. Well, then apparently one of the photographers
Yeah.
heard him make a statement that I'm only worried about the pet goat, not the people.
Yeah, it was rather interesting because he came out opposed to the Petco down on the riverfront, but
Right.
he didn't really come back and actually look at where it came from necessarily.
Exactly.
So it's a process, as I was talking about when Enbridge's pipeline is expanding. We're doing more tar sands processing, delivering more petroleum coke through this, or I should say, heavy crude through the pipeline, and then that heavy crude is being processed to turn it into both gasoline as well as also other petroleum byproducts, including petroleum coke, which is used as a fuel by some countries, not so much the U.S.
Well, I know China didn't want it after our interview.
They've, yeah. So the October incident was devastating. You lost your dog, right?
I lost my hearing. I was told by a very good friend of mine that it's not true. What do you put inside?
The inner ear?
The inner ear. It's not, nothing to do with that. It's in your neck. They would have never found the fluid if he wouldn't have sent me for that test. He caught the fluid on that MRI.
Okay.
And it was really strange because within 2 weeks of that explosion, I watched my dog lose his balance frontwards first and went nose first into the ground. And I went out there and I said, what's up with you? And we got back up. I didn't think nothing of it. Within the next 2 months, his back legs, he had no use of them.
Right.
I had, and even the vet, he had every 6 months, we took him to the vet. He had all his shots. We took care of him like our son.
So when the incident happened, you took him to the vet too right away, right?
Oh yeah. And she said it was so bad that we had to make a decision that they didn't think that the massaging of his back would help him walk more because he couldn't even come up a ramp. You had to drag him up. He had such bad infections through his body that he couldn't, and that's what bothered him the worst. He couldn't control having an accident, and he never had an accident for the 13 years I had him. And he went everywhere with me. He's been to Delaware, Florida, you name it, he's been with me.
Everybody.
Exactly, very protective over us, and I hydrogen that they put down to clean the tanks, or it was nitroglycerin. And he said they do it every 5 years. Why wasn't we warned?
Right, there was no notice into the
No.
neighborhood about any of the process.
Jeffy, the neighbor, came out just to, he kept hearing the humming. That's why he caught it on tape. But when it exploded, I mean, that's when everything went crazy. I mean, I had neighbors coming 4 blocks down. They thought our house exploded. They thought maybe his shop exploded. They came down and said our windows are all, half of them are cracked. That's how bad it was. So if they got that much there, imagine being in an enclosed area, nowhere to go. I'm on a cement driveway, and next thing I know, I'm laying on the ground.
Tell me, one of the other things that's up there is like an incident from November. You remember a November incident? You remember a November incident?
November 16th.
Okay.
My sister was actually staying with me. She had just gotten out of the hospital. They had to remove her left eye. And she had a patch on, and she had to use all these little bottles to put into the right eye so it'll make her
So
see.
her immune system's kind of
Very
fighting
bad.
this right now.
Very bad.
And then you go into this environment.
Exactly. So I called them up because thought my fire detector was going off. And I said, I can't get the batteries in it. I gotta have Tom do it when he gets home. And she's like, then what is that? So I walked to the kitchen, I looked out, and everything was lit up. I mean, I knew something was wrong.
What time of day are we talking?
It had to be 7:30 at night.
Okay.
And when I called the piece number, they said, get back in the house now. I said, I am in the house.
Right.
She said, get away from the windows. That's how bad the sound was. For it to come through that hard, for her to hear it and screaming at me, get out of the house. Okay, I have problems with my legs and I have night blindness. I have a person that just had her eye removed with a patch on it and can't see out of the other eye, and a dog. And where am I supposed to go?
This is in November, or this
November
was...
16th, my sister.
And the dog was basically on its way, sad to say. It was really close.
Yeah, me and my sister, we tried so hard to, make it better on him,
So,
get him well.
So the November incident happened, and then it's funny. The beginning of December, there was a petition that was filed by, or not a petition, but a permit was drafted for a marathon to increase its processing, which we know is coming up on February 19th. So.
I liked it when they lost their award.
Yeah, they were about to award them.
I would have
was it a
stepped
Good
in
Corporate
on that
Citizen
one.
Award, was it?
Safety.
Safety Award.
Best safety that any.
Was it a
Upper
UMass Award, or was it a Michigan, State of Michigan Award?
State of Michigan and every other oil company around the world were calling us, saying you need to understand it's not us, it's them, and they didn't want to be put in the same category.
Well, that refinery is doing things differently.
Exactly.
They actually looked at evidence from 2012. This is even, well, the 2012 figures on toxic release inventory show how these releases are treated or just simply released into the environment or if they're reclaimed or recycled. And there's a large number, about 15 different chemical compounds that Marathon releases, whereas the industry as a whole generally treats much more than Marathon or recycles or reclaims it in some way, but Marathon stands out there as a definite loser. And unfortunately, we become the loser because we're next to it.
And there's nobody to sit and tell you what's going on. When they were so mad when they didn't get that safety award, I said, you wouldn't have got it to begin with.
So you heard that, did you hear in October that I'm sure that you did, that there was actually a December 16th state tax exemption certificates for air pollution?
That's what I heard. And then the 18th something happened where they had a hydrogen.
This was in December?
Yeah.
Okay.
December,
It was December 23rd, I think it was.
Yeah, the 21st, I think.
Yeah, maybe it was the 21st, 22nd.
Had another incident.
Yeah, it was a diesel hydrant treater.
And what was really great is when the Detroit Fire Department went there, they tried to send them away.
Oh, the company said,
oh yeah, we'll
get away
handle
from
this ourselves. And Detroit said, we ain't going nowhere.
we want to see what you're doing.
Exactly.
Right.
And the night that we called them where they called them hazmat, this poor guy got out of the fire truck. He's like, what is that?
When was it?
I have it on there. It was January.
Early in January, I think, right?
Yeah, it was.
Was it the 7th? Because if it was January 7th,
19th.
19th, okay.
The 19th.
Fire truck was called, okay.
Yeah.
So the 7th, we know that there was also some release cases that were reported in. One news source says it was because of the cold weather, which is kind of funny because these releases happen regardless of cold or hot.
It happens worse when it's hot and muggy because it comes down on top of you.
The atmosphere pressures with it.
Exactly.
We've got a hearing coming up, and there's also something going on. You said that the marathon was looking at more property in the area. What have they been doing as far as property around your area?
Oh, they're actually trying to get these other houses. I see the Low Marathon stick around there. I see they got maybe 2 more, but the other residents are trying to get their own real estate. But yet, that man, Tracy Case, said everything was bought up.
Okay, he's made a statement.
Yeah, he made a statement that
everything was bought up.
there's nobody living there.
Right.
And that's where it came up about me in the statement was made. I don't understand that.
Does it seem like they're trying to buy everything from the refinery all the way over the Rouge River? That entire area, or just a few blocks toward the Rouge River?
To me, I don't know how they're doing. You have to see this big thing they're making, and it has to be the conveyor belt to get from them to Sutherland.
That's all the way over
Exactly.
across Dix and even Seversol is all the way over the other side of the river.
It's going to be over our heads.
Yeah.
You know?
So all those plans we need to find out more about those.
Right.
And reveal those. The bridge right now is under construction there at Oakwood. So there's a big detour to take people across Dix to get over that place. At one point, we had a group of people that came into your neighborhood, and we wanted to talk with some of the neighbors about what was going on. And in our driving around, we were over near that what's going on at Port Street, and we saw a big pile of soil that was covered. And one of our friends in the vehicle who used to work for a gravel hauler said the only reason you cover soil is because it's contaminated soil. So we've got fuel tanks over there, and those tanks must be contaminating the soil in the area. So there's an environmental hazard right in that area, but it doesn't seem to be truly recognized for what it is.
We recognize it living there, but we can't get nobody to understand what we're recognizing.
Yeah.
You know, that's where the problem is. That if you bring these people there and let them stay a weekend, they're going to see something that will blow their mind.
And every time I come over, it's funny because I wind up getting a scratchy throat within 5 minutes.
That's a dry throat.
Within 5 minutes. And then if you're there for like 20, 30 minutes, you start feeling this dull feeling in the back of your brain too.
It affects you very bad. It does. But the way they're doing it, and I didn't even get a chance to say that. These security guards, they pay them $8 an hour. They think they're God. Okay. You do not chase people that live there all these years out, or follow them, or that just is not right.
So I remember Tom was talking about how he drove around. He basically had one following him, so he drove completely around the block, and the guy continued to follow him completely around the block. And when we came to visit, we wound up with 2 FBI agents actually visiting the door of the driver of the vehicle that we were in, asking them why were we around the area, as if we're not allowed to travel the public streets.
And that's where Tom said, when you come there, you get stopped. You tell them who you're coming to see.
So why are we not doing this interview there? Maybe we just don't want them watching, right?
Exactly, because they're everywhere.
Yeah.
almost could possibly do to me. But for some of these people, they're elderly, they are business people, they don't understand what's coming their way is dangerous. You know, and I seen that in that man. If you do the YouTube, if you go on, if you do my name on Google, I think I have 14 sites, and James did this story, and it just showed the stuff pumping out, other neighbors talking. He said, well, he asked the neighbor how, and this is like across, oh boy, how does it affect your health? He said, what, you need to breathe?
Yeah, it's breathe.
Exactly.
Is that like your health?
Exactly.
I guess breathing is part of your health. Yeah.
Exactly. You lose your breathing. They say the benzene's taking all the water and stuff out of the air. That's why we're always thirsty.
Do you have people that well, we're near the Lewis River. You know people that actually fish on that river too, don't they?
Yes, and in this story, every fish that the man would catch, he would give it away.
So somebody else got it, but they didn't know where it was coming from.
Well, they knew where it was coming from. He just said that he was not going to eat it. And he said one of them that he pulled out there did not look right.
Yeah.
It did not look right.
So, I think I'm pretty well done here. We've got, glad to have you as an ally. Thursday, there's another activity that we got to go to. Marathon's coming to the table about their air pollution